right, guys, I just hopped off the stream with Matt and Greenbean from the Talking Jets panel. So if you guys want to check that out, you should totally check it out. But I want to give you guys my thoughts in a smaller, condensed form of video in terms of Lael Collins coming in for a visit for the New York Jets and the rumors surrounding Mecole Hardman possibly being shopped by the New York Jets and what the Jets ultimately want to do for him or with him. So first off, let's jump into the Mecole Hardman thing. The Jets signed him this past offseason to be the gadget guy, to be this electric playmaker with the ball in his hands. He can do the jet sweeps. He can fly down the field. This guy is electric, hard to catch in a phone booth. This is the level of talent that Mecole Hardman has, and a lot of fans have been frustrated with his use so far this season because he's seemingly just not seeing the field, and he's a dynamic playmaker. He's something that defenses have to account for, and we're trying to think, like, why are we not seeing him more than we're seeing him right now? And I think a lot of that has to do with a few things. Now, remember, you signed Mecole Hardman back in, what was it, March, whenever free agency was, maybe April. And you get him on a one-year deal. He's here for, what is it, $6 million or something along those lines. Then you come to the draft. And the Jets have wound up holding on to some young stud wide receivers, or young, they hope to be stud wide receivers. And Xavier Gibson, being the hero of week one with the return against Buffalo, has kind of made Mecole Hardman a little more expendable. And I'm okay with that. And it's not a knock at Mecole at all. It's just where the Jets are right now in their team building process. If you had Aaron Rodgers here, I would want to have Hardman here with Rodgers because at least you have that level of, NFL experience and, you're going for it for this year. Hardman's only on a one-year deal. So he's likely going to leave at the end of the season unless you're planning to re-sign him. But because of the Gibson emergence during training camp and signing him, you've got him under contract for 3.5 more years, a 4-year rookie contract at, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's got to be probably lower than the entirety of the contract that Mecole Hardman signed. So if you're looking at things from an objective standpoint, you're saying, hey, Hardman can give you, let's say, maybe he's a 10, but Gibson is an 8 or something along those lines. But you have him for a longer time, cheaper contract, and you want to get him as many reps as possible so that way you can feel comfortable with him next year with Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be here. That's where I think a lot of Hardman's touches have kind of gone because Rodgers is not here and because of the emergence of Gibson. Hardman's just sort of an extra piece that maybe is not as, I don't want to say reliable, but there were some drops that were issues in training camp, some drops that happened in preseason. There was the one bomb throw that Zach threw, I think it was against Carolina, where Hardman hurt his hand and dropped the ball. And maybe there's some degree of like a combination of things. It's Gibson, it's the contract that he's not going to be here in the future, and the maybe perception of reliability being a concern where, Cobb, I think, is not the athletic specimen that Hardman is, but he's more reliable and kind of like how you heard in Hard Knocks, if Rodgers don't trust you, you're not going to see the ball. So maybe that's kind of what's happening with the Nathaniel Hackett stuff and Hardman. And obviously Hardman playing less snaps keeps him healthy in the event the Jets can trade him. I don't know where you're going to wind up moving him, what you're going to get for him. I would envision maybe a late round swap of picks at some point. It's not someone that I was thinking I'd want to move on from, especially when you lost Corey Davis for the season. But I'm okay with moving it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Hardman. I'd wish him the best wherever he goes. But I'm excited for Gibson, and that's where I'd like to go with it. Now, as far as the tackle side of things, because I've heard people say, hey, why don't you just trade Mecole Hardman for an offensive lineman, and that's just not going to be in the cards. I don't think so, unless there's some sort of lineman that's been underperforming at some other spot, and you're hoping for a turnaround. That's, or you're taking on a big contract, which the Jets really shouldn't do right now. The Jets are sitting at about $8 million in salary cap space, and Lael Collins has been out there for the taking if you wanted to. And the Jets finally brought him in for a visit today. He did leave, and he's going to go on a visit to the Giants. I don't know if it was in the same day or if he's going to the Giants tomorrow. Either way, right tackle, played phenomenally well in Dallas, but when he went to Cincinnati, the production kind of dropped a little bit. He wound up tearing, I believe it was the ACL and MCL, or he had some type of knee injury this past year, and he was recovering. So part of it was a money thing in Cincinnati, and part of it was a healing thing for Lael Collins. So that's why he was released from the Bengals. And if you look at his salary cap hits over the last few years, he's getting paid an average of about $4 to $5 million a year. And like I said, the Jets have $8 million in salary cap space. Why not, with the AVT injury, bring in Lael Collins? We've literally been saying this since we saw Dwayne Brown get like spun around in Denver. So it's something I would like to see the Jets do. The worst case scenario is you just have some competition at that right-hand tackle side of things. I would love to see Max Mitchell take the reins at right tackle. I really would. There was a point during last season that I felt like Mitchell was definitely the heir to the right tackle side of our offensive line, with Becton being the left-hand tackle side of things. And with this whole, what's going on, I don't want to have to move Mekhi Becton back over to right tackle. I really like how he's performed at the left-hand side. I think that he has earned it. I think he is our best tackle right now. Like, even with AVT healthy, I feel like Becton was still the best tackle of the bunch. AVT was just our best, I would call him, offensive lineman across the board. I would like to see Becton stay at left tackle. When Brown comes back off the IR week 8, you are able to make some moves. I just don't want to see Becton over on that side. And I think if you bring in Lael Collins and you give him some competition with Max Mitchell, hopefully the cream rises to the top, or do the curds rise? I don't know milk. I don't know cheese. Whatever. I want the best guy to play, obviously. And I think the Jets are going to have to rely on some combination of the tackles we already have and Jeremy Ruckert. I want Ruckert in line blocking and having the ability to go out and try and catch pass as well. The guy is far too dynamic and lays way too many big hits on blocks to not have him in. We're deep at tight end. I wouldn't mind running 3 tight end sets. Heck, the whole fullback thing with Bawden, I was a fan of Bawden. I thought we were going to use him more. This past game, he got far more snaps than he did any of the other games. I think he had under 5 snaps in a few games. I think that piece of the puzzle leaves me scratching my head. So if you could maybe replace Ruckert into that role of like a fullback, H-back kind of role, and help on the tackle side of things, chipping edge rusher, so that way Zach is not getting blasted off that right-hand side, because we're going to have a test of attrition here. You're going to have to figure out just how long your guys can last throughout the season. And now that I know I'm relying fully on Mekhi Becton staying healthy, it doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies because of his injury history the last 2 years. But Jets got to make a move. I think Lael Collins, for the amount of money you're going to have to spend to bring him in, worth it to bring it in. Don't get outbid by the Giants. I feel like as long as the offers are similar, let's say they're both $4 million, I feel like the Jets have got to have the upper hand right now. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. What do you guys think about Mecole Hardman? What do you think we could get in a trade for him? What do you think he's worth, either by way of draft pick or by way of player? What do you think of Lael Collins? Do you want the Jets to bring him in as a right tackle? Do you want the Jets to roll with who they have right now? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.